Jai Dharma Prabhu, sorry, you have any screen sharing or anything?
No, Prabhu. It's just
Okay.
notes.
Yeah, very good. All Shrutidhars, huh? They remember everything in the head.
No, Prabhu, I've made like handwritten notes. I don't remember in the notes.
No problem. Please, Mataji, whenever you are ready, you can start. But before we start, let's chant Mangalacharan, and then we'll start from there. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavasha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahigana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahigana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitancha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taribhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
So Prabhu, first I'll read the translation and then.
Yes. You can start, Mataji. I'll share my screen. Just give me 1 second. You can start.
Translation of Mantra 6. He who sees systematically everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his part and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. So in here, the first line, Yastu Sarvani Bhutani, it means who sees all the bhutas. And the second line, which says Atmani Eva Anu Upashyati. Here, Atmani means in relation to the Supreme Lord. Eva means only. Anu here means again and again in a systematic way. And Upashyati means observe. Then the third line means Sarva Bhuteshu Chatmanam. Chatmanam. Here also it is the third line is like it means one who sees all living entities as part and as his part and parcels. It's a repeated line from like Sarva Bhutani again Sarva Bhuteshu from first and third. And Tato na Vijupsate means thereafter not hates anyone. So in this verse basically means Prabhupada is saying 2 times there is the word Atmani in the second line, first word, and in the third line, Atmana. Atmana. Both the place it is in relation to the Supreme Lord. So both place Prabhupada translates Atma as in relation to Supreme Person, and everything being in relation to the Lord, and one who sees all living entities as his part and parcel. Here the example comes of Prahlad Maharaj. When Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad, where do you see Vishnu? Then Prahlad said that Lord is everywhere, and he could see Vishnu even inside that pillar. Then going forward, we discussed Prabhupada is telling about the 3 categories, Kanishta Adhikari, Madhya Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari. These are the 3 categories of devotees. So the one explained in Isopanishad is actually the one which is there according to Srimad Bhagavatam. So there are different these categories or on the basis of different criteria. Like in CC, there is one explanation of Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Uttamadhikari, and there is also one by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, but which is being explained is in Sri Isopanishad, is the one which is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the same context here. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the conversation between Nav Yogendra and Nimi, Maharaj Nimi, and that's from where Srila Prabhupada is explaining this in the purport. So when Urmila Mataji came, she said that she gave a very good point about the Kanishta Adhikari and Madhyama Adhikari and Uttama Adhikari, and she said that these are different categories and there are different criterias with which our acharyas have explained it. So does that mean one is an Uttam Adhikari and one at the same time is not is also a Kanishta Adhikari? So she explained it very nice that we can be Kanishta at one thing and we can be Uttama at one thing and we can be Madhyama at one thing. And also it is a very good way of understanding where we are and improving ourselves for the better. Then first
Mataji, Hare
part,
Krishna. Sorry, just quickly. Can you give me an example which you can think about? A person being in one area, Uttamadhikari, another area, Madhyamadhikari, or Kanishthadhikari.
example, not that it is on top of my mind,
Okay,
but
Mataji. That's why I thought we'll clarify with everyone. Suppose a person can be a very expert cook, say Uttamadhikari, but he may not be very good in English, a Kanishthadhikari, for example. Huh? So we cannot just give a certificate to a person unless he is fully transcendental that he is Uttamadhikari. That means all around, whatever he does, he is perfect. Prabhupada was asked once by one of his disciples that Prabhupada, does a spiritual master make a mistake? So Prabhupada said, no, the spiritual master does not make a mistake. But then he said, we also see spiritual master getting sick and he doesn't know many shlokas. Sometimes he gets stuck. Sometimes you see many so-called imperfections. So Prabhupada said, the definition of your perfection is wrong. So we have a definition of a so-called notion of perfect person definition. That means a Mr. Perfect or Mrs. Perfect. That's not we can apply on a spiritual master. And Prabhupada said spiritual master's perfection is he is always perfectly pleasing Krishna. Now, materially, when we see him in that situation, sometimes we feel, oh, he doesn't know this, he doesn't know that. No, he knows everything, whatever is required for him to please Krishna. And he does that very perfectly. So we can just understand from that example. And similarly, from in our devotee community as well, some devotees can be very good in one field, may not be good in another field. And that's very natural. Not everyone will know everything fully perfectly. So we should not judge them on the basis of what they are not perfect in. We should try to sort of see them in the areas which they are perfect in or very good at. And that's how we can appreciate each other and have better relationship and then serve Krishna very better in that way. We cannot just stand because one person can't do one thing. We can't, oh, he's a useless person. He's a Kanishta Adhikari. He can be a Uttam Adhikari in another field. So it's a very good definition which Urmila Mataji sort of shared when she came here. Sorry, Mataji, I thought I'll just open that topic.
yes, sir.
And Bhagavatam reference as well. Anyone remembers the Bhagavatam reference which Sakhi Radhika Mataji was sort of giving?
11th
11,
canto and
11 to 46,
second point
45,
47.
46, 47. So 47 is Uttamadhikari. Sorry, 45 is Uttamadhikari, 47 is
46
Kanishta, and
is
46 is the Madhyam. And 46 verse is very, 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 very famous. You should have in your personally. Ishwareshu tad adhineshu. Prem metri kapopeksha yah karoti samadhyama. So Ishwar, he does prema. Anyway, I'll leave it to you, Mata, if you want to explain that.
Yeah, okay. Sure, Prabhuji. So with the first one, Kanishta Adhikari, he considers the Lord to be present at the place of worship and nowhere else. And another characteristic of such a devotee, a Kanishta Adhikari, is he quarrel among devotees and he consider one type of devotion better than others. For example, a devotee would say, "Oh, he is a very good devotee because he can serve better," or one is a very good devotee because he can sing better, or one is a very good devotee because he can give a good class, but other factors he doesn't consider.
Yeah.
So That's the part about the Ganeshtadikari. Also, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.47, it says that a devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly towards other devotees or people in general is called a materialistic devotee, Prakrite Bhakta, and is to be considered in the lowest position. And this example it can be for anyone. It doesn't mean that which one ashram they are following. For example, Prabhuji, you can correct me, but I was just thinking, it is this example is very good for Ramachandra Puri, because
Yeah.
though he was a sannyasi, but when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was being fed with love and devotion by devotees, he chastised and he criticized him that you are a sannyasi and you are eating such opulent prasad. And after that, Lord Chaitanya started eating very little, like remnants, and all the devotees were very disheartened. So he judged the Lord himself, or even so to say, even if he didn't knew, he judged another devotee because he was accepting the love of others.
Yep.
So this is one of the example which just clarifies what Srila Prabhupada is explaining.
Yep.
Then we come to Madhyam Adhikari. Madhyam Adhikari adores the Lord, considering him the object of love. He makes friends with those who are in devotional service, who are in devotion to the Lord. He tries to awaken the dormant love of God in the hearts of others. With the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.2.46 talks about four actions or done by Madhyam Adhikari. Like if we want to check ourselves also, it's a very good like four qualities we can say. So for the Lord, for Ishvara, he chants, he reads scriptures for the Lord. Then for the devotees, he maintains good relationship with the devotees. He maintains good friendship with the devotees. For innocent, he preaches to them with love and compassion. So even if somebody is new in Krishna consciousness, they won't judge them, and they would just, even they, if they have to correct them, the principle behind correcting someone would be compassion, not that, oh, I know better than you. Then for envious,
And
they
sorry, Mataji, I'm just sharing the verse on the screen for everyone's benefit. As you're saying, the compassion he has, Bali Sheshu. He considered the new person as Balak. Balak means chota bacha. Huh? Such a beautiful word Bhagavatam is using. And on Balak, what he is doing? Krapa. So very beautiful words here we can see on the screen. So for Bali Sheshu, he does Krapa. So very beautiful. So on your own Balak or on your own child, you will have so much compassion and love. So this is how you should preach. Not that I am bigger. No, he's my Balak, or he's innocent. And Prabhupada translates as innocent, if I'm not wrong. Bali Sheshu, unto the neophytes or the ignorant. They're innocent people, and he shares Krishna consciousness with them like that. It's a very beautiful mood while sharing Krishna with them. Yes, Mataji.
And then for the envious or who are against the Lord, he does not go to them. He does not associate with them.
Yeah. So Upeksha.
So this is about Madhyama Adhikari. Then Prabhupada is talking about Uttama Adhikari. Uttama Adhikari is the one who does not discriminate between an atheist and a theist, but see everyone as part and parcel of God. And the best example which comes to the mind is Srila Prabhupada. He did not see who is a hippie, who is following for regulative principle, who is a Brahman initiated. He did not consider anything. He just took whatever the little spark that everybody had, and he connected that spark to the Lord, seeing that they are part and parcels of the God, of the Lord. But what happens is everybody, because of the success materially or spiritually, which everybody gets attracted towards a Tamadikari, people try to imitate. That's what Prabhupada is writing in the purport as well. And people sometimes, Kanishta or like normal people outside, they try to imitate, and then they are called Sahajiyas. And so here we discussed that what extra thing does Uttam Adhikari has? So in Bhagavatam first canto, it is mentioned about submission to the Lord. So there are two types of submissions. One is internal submissiveness, and the other is the external submissiveness. So in external submissiveness, last time Prabhu was saying, if you want to become a devotee, you can become a devotee in $10. Just has to buy the right clothes, the Chandan Tilak, and you will, in Kantimala, and you will look like a devotee. But the internal submissiveness is the major one, and that is something which only how you behave when nobody is watching you, but you know that Krishna is watching you. And how do you behave at that time? That is your real internal submissiveness. How much, when you see another devotee, how much you pretend and how much you really are considered about them. That is the real internal submissiveness. Also, I was hearing a lecture wherein Radhanath Maharaj was explaining that real submissiveness to the Lord is when you are able to celebrate the success of other devotees, and when you are able to be happy in the happiness of other devotees, especially when your things are not in the right place. That means you have really surrendered to the will of the Lord. So that was about Uttamadhikari. And basically, uh, we should try to learn the Shastras from a Uttamadhikari, just as we are following Srila Prabhupada books, the purports. That is very important to follow or read the books written by an Uttamadhikari, understand it from a Uttamadhikari's point of view. And overall, this verse is about that what is a liberated person's vision. Also, we discussed in 5.18 Bhagavad Gita, Pandita Samadarshina. It is similar to that verse, wherein we are talking about the real vision of a liberated person. So that person who is like a liberated a person who is a liberated person, what is his vision? Is that he sees everything in relation to Krishna. He sees Krishna inside everybody, like the picture we see that everybody has Krishna in the heart, super soul, and he sees everyone as part and parcel of Krishna, and that is why that devotee, that person is not able to hate anyone, because he cannot hate, because he loves the Lord, and he can see everything in relation, everything is connected, everyone is connected to the Lord. Even the situations and circumstances he sees as a mercy of the Lord. So he never have that negative feeling of hatred towards anyone. And and
Just
and
from that one example comes to my mind, which I heard, because he doesn't hate anyone. So now, for us, it may be a very theoretical concept, but I heard in a lecture for Prahlad Maharaj, when Prahlad Maharaj was put into the with the snakes. So he was asked later, it's in one of the Puranas, did you not fear when you were put with the snakes? So there was not like one or two snakes, there was a room full of snakes, and you were thrown there by your own father. Now, how can you not hate or, be angry against that person? But he was asked, so were you not scared? He said, how can I be scared with the snakes? Who is my father? Vishnu is my father. And he lies on the bed of Ananta Shesh. All these chota mota snakes are their servant only, or a servant only. So what can the servant of my master, of my father can do to me? I was very happy with the snakes. So he was like playing with the snakes. Now, imagine his mindset. Imagine his mindset. Someone even says some wrong words, even unintentionally, and we feel bad. We feel anger in our heart, at least in the heart, if not in our words. And Prahlad Maharaj was completely fine. He said, were you not scared when you were thrown into the fire? He said, scared of fire? What? Fire is the mouth of Lord Narayan, isn't it? That's what it says. That's why we put grains in the fire, so that Lord Vishnu can accept it. So you say, I've been put into the mouth of Lord Vishnu. Will I be scared? So he had no opportunity to have any hatred towards Hiranyakashipu. He was completely fine. Not like, no, we are angry, but okay, I'll not say anything. I'll chant 1 to 10, I'll chant Hare Krishna or something. No, he has such a different mindset. And you can see from this verse, it's very spontaneous reaction of a devotee to not have any ill feeling towards anyone, no matter this person is even trying to kill you. Very different level altogether. Yes, Mataji.
So the example which here comes to here is of Srila Prabhupada. So there are 2-3 instances where once Srila Prabhupada was in Mayapur and there was like scorching heat, it was humid, and the devotees were like really in distress. And immediately from somewhere there was this breeze, like a cool breeze, and everybody was like, everybody felt like since Srila Prabhupada has come, like this breeze has come, and Srila Prabhupada said, this breeze is Krishna. So everybody was like, oh, like taken aback that we didn't even think like that. So he said that Krishna is like inhaling, and this is his, and he's giving us this fresh air. That is Krishna. And also, the same day, there was this flower, and Prabhupada was smelling the flower and the fragrance when he smelled, and he said, "This is Krishna." So everything which we do sit, that said, no, when a pure devotee, Uttam Adhikari, sits, stands, everything he can see in relation to the Lord, and that's why he never hates anyone. And another, sorry, and he and the because he is so positive, he is able to accept whatever Krishna has given. So same as Prabhupada when he was in the port of Jaladuta, and he said that he told the Lord, nachao after there's those heart attacks, that you do whatever you want to. If you want me to dance on what you want, like जो भी आप चाहते हैं, आप जैसा करना नचाना चाहते हैं तो नचाइए. So that is the submissiveness of that devotee has, because everything is in connection to the Lord. That is how he sees it, and he considers himself um, as a servant of the Lord, and he has so much of genuine love for everyone. That is the reason.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice. We have Jai Dharma Prabhuji for verse 7.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
I think this shloka is on the similar lines. Since Mataji explained everything, hopefully it will be quick for me. I'll just read out the translation. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? So this shloka is in continuation with the previous one, where it's explained how a Madhyama or Uttamadhikari perceives the things. So they see everything in relation to the Lord. So they don't see something outside, like they say, Bahir Narsimha, Hrudaye Narsimha. So they see like everything in relation to the Lord. So that way they don't feel like anybody is not part and parcel of the Lord. And the example which Prabhupada has explained is the sparks of a fire, which are qualitatively one with the fire, but in the quantity they are not. The same example which we keep hearing is the drop of an ocean, where the drop of an ocean also contains the same chemical composition of the ocean, where the saltiness, or it will have a similar degree, the taste wise, but quantitatively it's not. Like similarly, living entities are like Anuatma, whereas Lord is the Vibhu Atma. So he is the and also this perception of looking everyone as Mataji also was quoting, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. So in innumerable shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, it has been given, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne being one of them, and where they see like a Pandita, there it is said the vision of a Pandita who sees everybody, whether a cow or elephant, a dog, or even Chandala as a as the Paramatma's Ansha. So, and I think the same culture has been, our foundational principles are there in ISKCON, or even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was sharing the Maha Mantra. Like before, what I heard was like earlier, as per Upanishad, it was Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, and few Brahmanas were objecting him to distribute or chant it by everyone. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being so humble, he give that opportunity for everybody so that they can chant the Lord's name without caste, creed, religion, sex, anything. So he gave that opportunity for that. That's one of the reasons, at least I'm here. So, and the same thing which we could see in ISKCON also, like everybody is can come to the temple irrespective of their whatever religion there are. They can come and sit next to anybody. They can chant and they can eat prasadam. So which we see every day. So that really inspires like how the acharyas not only preached it, but they have also followed and set up as part of the foundation in ISKCON. And so how the same principle, and also this culture is there in other sampradayas also, like even uh, Ramanujacharya had to distribute Om Namo Narayana. He climbed on the top of a temple and he announced, even though it was a bit against his guru's this one, but later even Guru acknowledged the greatness of Ramanujacharya. Like even if I'm ready to go to the hell, if I can make at least one devotee who can go to the heaven by chanting this mantra. And it's no different between Adi Shankaracharya when there was a beautiful stotram which is called as Shatpadi Stotram, where Adi Shankaracharya glorifies Lord Vishnu to remove the avidyas and also to remove any kind of worldly attachment so that he can lead and attain the Lord. So there also he gives the same example where he says, just like how the waves and ocean, the waves belong to the ocean, but ocean does not belong to the waves. So similarly, living entities they belong to Lord, but it's not the other way around. So I think the same example which is exactly same in other sampradayas as well. And the same thing is there in Bhagavad Gita, where I don't recollect right now on top of my head. There is one shloka where Lord says, everybody is part of me, like Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivisto, since Paramatma is there in everyone's heart. So only the Uttamadhikaris or Mahabhagavat can reach that. I'm not yet there, but yeah, we need to, at least I need to improve on seeing everybody as part and parcel of the Lord. That way, it will not have any when we are in the association of the devotees, obviously it is easier to perceive it. But when we move out also, unless until one develops that vision of seeing everybody as part and parcel of the Lord, the life becomes more like peaceful, and he'll develop that vision so that his heart is kind of transformed to see everyone as part and parcel of the Lord. And even one of the sloka where Lord says, everybody is part of me, but I am not part of him. So it's a clear differentiation. Living entities can never be the Lord. Obviously, they are part and parcel of the Lord. They have qualitatively one, which again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu beautifully harmonized both Advaita, Advaita principles into like Achintya Veda Ved, where he says simultaneous oneness and difference. So that is the one beautiful, the way he harmonized all the different sampradayas. And similarly, I think this also they see the Lord as like all the aspects of the absolute truth, which includes the Bhagavan, which is the impersonal feature of the Lord. Through his energies, he expands entire, like as Mataji was explaining the example, like seeing the breeze or seeing the wind, or everything as the emanation of the Lord. And similarly, Paramatma, who resides in everyone's heart, and Bhagavan, the example we keep hearing is more like the sun rays, which are Brahman nature, like and the sun disk, which we see as part of our material eyes, is more of a Paramatma feature, and the Sun Lord as it's glorified in Suryastakam. They say Prachandam Kashyapatmajam Sweta Padmadaram Devam Tam Suryam Pranamamyam. So it's going beyond just saying that it's just what we look at with eyes. He says he is Prachandam Kashyapatmajam. So he clearly giving that he is the son of Kashyapa, and he is riding a chariot which has the 7 horses and having Ekachakra Dharam Devam. So that's how he has been glorified, Surya Narayana. So like one who has gone beyond and looking just not as a son, so only one who has realized the Bhagavan feature. So similarly, I think all these devotees or the pure devotees they would be able to see that everybody is part and parcel of the Lord. And also the other important is, if one is not able to see this, or once they realize it, they become the true knower of things, and then there won't be any illusion or anxiety for him. So when Arjuna started in the Kurukshetra, I think he was more confused about his worldly duties, whether he should fight or not fight. So he was in similar kind of a illusion, although he was a Nitya Baddha. I mean, he was not conditioned ideally, only it is Lord has put him in illusion. But at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, after hearing it and taking the complete shelter of Lord Krishna, then he says, Nastam moha smritir labdva. So he says, all my illusions have gone. So I think by then he has realized that everything is emanating from Lord Krishna, and after he saw the Vishwarupa Darshana, then all his illusions have gone. And another example which is close to my heart is when Adi Shankaracharya was once walking on the streets of Kashi. Then with his disciples, he sees a Chandala walking with 4 dogs. So immediately he asks him to move away. So by then the Chandala, though he asks, whom do you want to move away? Is it my body whom you are asking to move away, or is it the soul which is inside me? If you are talking about my body, which is perishable, which is made up of all 5 elements, which will no longer be will be eternal. Whereas Atma, if you are saying, then it's the same. What is there in your Atma, it's same as what is there in my this one. So I think then Adi Shankaracharya bows down before the Chandala, and he bows down. He sees clearly that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even though he was like setting an example, which we see throughout, I mean, in all the great Vaishnava Acharyas as well. So they are all not only just preaching, they set example by living that example. And they respect all cultures. So the same is there in all religions as well. Like when we look at Bible also, it says, love thy God. And at the end, it's with all the strength of like mind and everything. And also it says, thy love neighbor. So every religion fundamentally has the similar principle, wherein they say, like, one need to not only look the Lord in the deity, rather we need to look at that Lord as a Paramatma in everyone's heart. So that's all, Prabhu, I want to just share with you. So Atma
Thank you,
Bhuta
Prabhuji.
and Brahma, just few other examples which Prabhupada explained.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. I really like the example of Shankaracharya with Chandal. Chandal must be a demigod or something. Huh? So much knowledge. Very nice. Okay, we see Ghanashyam Prabhu is here. Hare Krishna, Ghanashyam Prabhu. Can you hear us?
Krishna Prabhu, Dhanush Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Here is the manifestation of Ghanashyam Prabhu. So thank you, Prabhuji, for joining us. Honestly, I was trying to get Ghanashyam Prabhu since late last year, but he's very, very busy. He has practically classes every day and so many other services as well. So Thank you, Prabhuji, for coming and giving your time. So Prabhu will take us through to mantra 8, and then whatever else we can do today, we'll try that. So Prabhu, if you want to share your screen, you can share, or
You can just continue with the verse 8, Prabhuji.
okay, Prabhuji. So Prabhu will just read the verse, one of us, and then we read the translation, and then you can.
Sure.
Who would like to read this a bit bigger verse? You can read as prose, that's fine. Vijay Mataji, would you like to read?
सपर्यगच्चुक्रमाख्यम् अवर्णम्
Saprayaga Shukram Akayam Avaranam
अश्नाविरं शुद्धमपापविद्धम्
Ashnaviram Shuddham Apapavidham
कवेर्मनीषी परिभू स्वयंभू
Kavir Manishi Paribho Swayambho
यथाथयोरर्तन्व्यथा च स्वातिभग्यसमप्यः
Yatha Tatho Ratham Vyathas Cha Swatibhyaha Samabhyaha.
Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated. The self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since the time immemorial. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Over to you, Ghanashyam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We have we done Mangalacharan in the beginning?
Yes, we have already done. But if you want to do, we can do it.
Short one. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Vesharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai.
Jai,
Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Very happy to be with all of you. I visited the very first class. That was in Sundar Gopal Prabhu's home. And after that, that was like 1.5 years ago, maybe.
2 years, Prabhu. More
2
than 2
years.
now.
Okay, so very happy to be here. I was just hearing Jayadharma Prabhu's class, and I was thinking he can just keep continuing. It was such a good class. It didn't look like revision.
Yes.
And I was thinking, if the revision is like this, what am I supposed to do? So, Isopanishad, very important book. Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, when he formulated the courses for Bhakti Shastri degree, he specifically included Isopanishad. As you all know, Isopanishad is part of Yajurveda. In many ways, this book is the boundary between impersonal aspect and personal aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's one of the reasons why Acharyas explain the verses are written like that. The direct meaning in many places isn't that obvious. And if we are a little confused, we may even misread or misinterpret those statements. There is even a famous pastime of Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. By the way, on that Chandala in Kashi, which Jayadharma Prabhu said. I've heard that story. That Chandala was Lord Shiva himself, actually, who came and challenged Shankaracharya. Anyway, coming to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he is known as Simha Guru. And many times he would go openly challenge the impersonalists, Mayavadis especially. Impersonalist is a very broad term we use for both Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. Brahmavadis, in many ways, they are innocent. They are people who believe the Supreme Lord doesn't have any form because of their lack of knowledge. Classical example, the four Kumaras, Shukadeva Goswami, to a certain extent, in his Leela, manifested Leela, he acted as a Brahmavadi for some time. And when they come to know about the personality of the Supreme Lord, they immediately go and accept it. In other words, they are open for personalism. It's simply because of lack of that knowledge, they act in that platform that the Supreme Lord is impersonal. On the other hand, Mayavadis, they know that the Supreme Lord has got form, but they deny that existence. So there is a big difference between these two. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was against the Mayavadis, especially when Srila Prabhupada, in his famous poem, Adore, Adore All, there when he glorified Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, impersonal calamity thou hast removed. When Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw that line, he closed his eyes, showing a big feeling of satisfaction on his face. And then that's when he famously instructed his sannyasi disciples, Abhay Charan has understood my mission. Hereafter, whatever he writes, just publish it. Simply by hearing those two lines. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in many ways, he was the flag bearer in modern times in promoting the personal aspect of the Supreme Lord. So in one instance, because in many times he would challenge them either in public or even, Prabhupada says in one place, even in streets, if Mayavadis see him coming in one direction, they would run away because they know what's coming next. He would literally go for a debate and he'll smash their argument, left, right, and center. In one instance, he sees the Mayavadis coming from the opposite side. He buys a basket of rotten mangoes, actually. And he tells his disciples to go and deliver to them. And if they ask why rotten mangoes, you tell them, because you only follow the philosophy of oneness. So everything is one. Good mango, ripe mango, and rotten mango, they both are one. Please eat it. You tell them like that. So that's how aggressively he was driving impersonalism away. So in one instance, when Mayavadis got hold of this book, Isopanishad, they thought, wow, here is a fantastic opportunity, how we can challenge back Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So then they sent a letter to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur calling for a debate, that we are inviting you for an open debate and we will present our Mayavada philosophy and you can present your understanding on personalism. Do you accept this challenge? Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur responded back, yes, I accept the challenge. Knowing very well the prowess of Bhakti Siddhanta, they modified the request. So they sent the second message saying, you cannot use Srimad Bhagavatam statements in your argument. Are you ready for the challenge? Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur responds back saying, yes, I won't use Srimad Bhagavatam at all in my arguments. Then they got a little scared, sent a modified request a third time saying, you cannot use even Bhagavad Gita. Are you ready? Then he says, yes. And finally, they thought this is going nowhere. Finally, they mentioned this book, Isopanishad. And they say, this is the only book on the basis of which you can present your arguments. And we will present our understanding of the Supreme Brahman. And you have to present personalism using only this book. Are you ready? Now they were very convinced that he's going to decline. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur responded back saying, yes, I'm coming. And finally, Mayavadi's center responds back saying, please don't come. They call off the debate, basically. So this book is a very deceiving book in that sense. In one lecture, Srila Prabhupada says, Buddha, when he came to stop animal killing, and he says, don't kill the animals. And in order to do that, he had to promote, first he has to push back on the Vedas. So he denied Vedas. He has to push back on even the theistic principles, which is proclaiming about the supremacy of the Lord. He declines that. So now when he did that, people who are atheistic, they got very much attracted to him. And Prabhupada says, you look at the stupidity of atheists, and they were saying, yes, here is our leader, we will follow him. He does, he says, don't worship God, don't read Vedas, we like him, we will follow him. But Prabhupada, and they followed him. Prabhupada saying, yeah, but the person who came, he's saying, no God, no Vedas, but he himself is God. So Prabhupada says, Buddha, in this way, he tricked all of them. And he made them to follow him. And then slowly raised their level of consciousness also by letting them go through that slow progression and give up meat eating. So Isopanishad in many ways is like that. It is written in a certain way, so it will attract the intellect of someone who has got even a tinge of Mayavad understanding, even a tinge of impersonal understanding. It will attract them, because when they read, they'll feel like, hey, this looks familiar, looks like this is our book. In our own Sampradaya, there is a famous Acharya whose commentaries on many of the Shastras are very famous, especially even about Bhagavad Gita. Madhusudan Chakravarti. Madhusudan Chakravarti, externally, he posed himself as a Mayavadi scholar, but he was like the, spy in the enemy den, basically. But internally, he was a Vaishnava. So his preaching style, even commentary style, will be like that. Some he actually says it straight away, but some it can bewilder people. Devotees will understand it, but non-devotees will understand it in their own way, like Shankaracharya's commentaries, basically. So in the previous verses, we discussed about different aspects. Last verse was about oneness. Oneness about oneness between energy and energetic. Oneness in quality but not quantity. Oneness in collective interest. When Prabhupada explains about Savai Manakrishna Padaravindayor for glorifying about Ambarish Maharaj, Prabhupada there he explains Kamam Chadasya Natu Kama Kamyaya Etottama Shloka Janashraya Ratihi. So we engage our desire to fulfill the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the only thing we desire is the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So that's about oneness. This verse, Isopanishad, verse 8, it gives many wonderful qualities of the Supreme Lord. Shukram, omnipotent. Akayam, unembodied. Avrinam, without reproach. Reproach means disappointment. In a day-to-day life, yesterday I was giving youth class, I was asking them, we were discussing about karmanevadikaraste verse, Mam Phaleshu Kadachana. Why is Krishna saying you have your right to perform only your duty, but not to enjoy its results? I asked them, why do you think Krishna is saying? Everyone gave a lot of beautiful answers. I was just asking this question. Let us say if this instruction of Krishna isn't there, and let us say Krishna says, okay, take all the results. Let's just follow through that school of thought or that line of thought. I asked them, in a day, what percentage of times do you think things go your way? We plan something, could be cooking, could be, I want to finish rounds at a certain time. I want to wake up at a certain time. I want to read. I want to visit temple. I want to study. I want to work. I want to wash clothes. So many things. So I asked them, how many times do you think things go your way, or how many times do you think things are totally out of your control? They said 80 to 90% of the times things are out of our control. So I asked them, so when Krishna says you have no rights to enjoy your results, do you understand what Krishna is saving us from? 90% of disappointment. What's the trade-off there? 10% of the times you have to just let go of the pleasure. However, if we do that, then we become peaceful all the time. Because so-called pleasure will actually raise us up, but then again, when disappointment comes, it's gonna make us feel the pain even more deeper. So without reproach means Supreme Lord, whose potency, Satya Sankalpa, whatever he says will become true. Whatever he thinks comes to be true. When Karna was there with his wheel stuck on a ditch, he's trying to actually pull. At that time, Krishna encourages Arjuna, shoot him. And then Karna tells Krishna, what advice are you giving? We have to follow Kshatriya Dharma. And then when Krishna starts to insult, right, he is Supreme Lord in that. He insults him left, right, and center. But of all the reasons he gives, finally Krishna says, I want him to kill you. This got to be true because I'm saying it. Then Karna thinks for a moment, because even Karna knows Krishna is Supreme Lord. He says, like, yeah, that works, shoot me. And then Arjuna shoots him. So Krishna, Satya Sankalpa, he has Natasya Karya Karanam cha vidyate, Natat Samascha Adhikascha Trishyate, Parashya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate, Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. Supreme Lord's qualities are such that he has multivarious energies, and simply each of the energies, they'll wait for him at his beck and call. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it's given, when Gopakumar goes to Vaikunta, there he sees different personalities taking human form. Like Sudarshana Chakra, he didn't see Sudarshana Chakra per se, but he saw the person, but he was wearing a crown with an emblem of Sudarshana. If you see some cartoon, they may show some characters, but to make sure that you clearly understand who the character is, they'll have some symbolism. Again, that is also copied from the Shastras only, because this is how he sees it. When he sees Garuda, sometimes he sees him as a person, sometimes he sees as a bird. But when he sees Garuda as a person, same thing. The emblem of Garuda is there. So, Supreme Lord, he has got each one of these different energies, and they would wait for him at his beck and call without reproach. That Lord, that person who doesn't know what disappointment means, that's what it means, without reproach means. Shukram, omnipotent. Three qualities: omnipotent, omniscience, and omnipresence. Omnipotent means, Prabhupada explains in the purport, Anganyasya Shakalendriya Vritti Manti. So, each one of the senses of the Lord carry the same potency as every other sense of the Lord. That's omnipotent. He can do anything with anything. Like you will see Balaram killing, Roma Harshana, just empowering one small grass, finish. So in many instances, we'll see like that. Or if you see how Varahadev killed Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha was so powerful. He was the original terrorist, literally, because even Hiranyakashipu, if you see, he had literally millions of soldiers, Asuric soldiers, who would march ahead of him. He didn't have to fight the war directly himself. He would go in only when it is needed. Same is with Ravana. But Hiranyaksha was so powerful, he would walk across the length and breadth of this universe single-handed, just wielding a gata, one weapon. That's how powerful he was. So when Varahadev comes, he fights with him. When he starts to use his illusory power, throwing weapons, Varahadev picks picks his Sudarshana Chakra and he pulverizes each one of those weapons into pieces. But then finally, if you really carefully read in Srimad Bhagavatam, there you will see how Varahadev actually finally ended up killing Hiranyaksha. So after he hurled all the weapons, he smashes everything, and finally Varahadev also calls back his Sudarshana Chakra. And then all the different demigods and everyone, they request Varahadev, my lord, please finish him. Varahadev lets him come closer. He just slaps him once and that's it. He just drops down dead. He could have done it initially itself. But for him, that's fun. So he lets him play. But actually, if you see how Varahadev kills Hiranyaksha, just with one slap, gone. You know, sometimes you will see in movies, hero smashes the villain and they will hear a sound only. I was thinking, if you get the slap of the Supreme Lord, how would you feel? But that's what Hiranyaksha felt. So, omnipotent, unembodied, Supreme Lord has got unlimited forms, but every form of the Supreme Lord is unembodied. Everything is Sachidananda Vigraha. Supreme Lord changes his form. Even when we go to spiritual world, even if we go to Vaikunta, our body is convertible. Vaikuntavasis, sometimes they exhibit Chaturbhuja form, sometimes Dvibhuja form, sometimes the same personality will become animal, sometimes the same personality will manifest things out of them, other times they'll wind down everything inside them also. This is in Vaikunta. What to speak of, you go Ayodhya, Dwaraka, and ultimately Goloka Vrindavan. So, Supreme Lord is the origin of all of this. So, Akayam, unembodied. Prabhupada would often use this logic when he describes about this verse of Krishna saying to Arjuna, oh, my dear Arjuna, you and me have taken many, many births. I remember all of them, but you don't. And Prabhupada explains the reason why Krishna remembers all of them is because he doesn't change his body. Prabhupada would often use that argument. Why Krishna doesn't take his another body? His whole body is Sachidananda Vigraha. Always his body is like that. When he is young, Kaumara, Pauganda, Kaishwara, Yavana, he doesn't grow beyond that. But even when he's 16-year-old, his face will look like a child, like a Pauganda and Kaishwara form. So Krishna still takes the elements of each one of the different age and he still retains it. So this is Akayam. Avrinam, without reproach, no disappointment. Tasmad Bhavantam Anavadyam Anantaparvam. Sarvagyam Ishwaram Akunta Vikunta Dishnyam. This is one of the invocatory verses in Uddhava Gita. Nirvinnadi Rahamuhe Vrijana Bitapto Narayanam Narashakam Sharanam Prapadya. That's how it goes. Tasmad Bhavantam Anavadyam Anantaparam. Sarvagyam Ishwaram Akunta Vikunta Dishnyam. Nirvinnadi Rahamuhe Vrijana Bitapto Narayanam Narashakam Sharanam Prapadya. So there Uddhava says, Tasmad Bhavantam. Bhavantam is you. Therefore, my Lord, I surrender unto you. Tasmad Bhavantam Anavadyam Anantaparam. Someone who is the shelter of everyone who is distressed, who is unlimited, who is perfect. Anavadyam, perfect. Anantaparam, unlimited. Sarvagyam, one who is knower of everything. Ishwaram, supreme controller. Akunta Vikunta Dishnyam, that Lord who resides in the abode which is free of disturbances by forces inside as well as outside, both. Normally, when we talk about the material world, Goloka eva nijanam nitalechatasya Devi Mahesha Haridam Ashuteshu Teshu. Devidam Devi Mahesha Haridam Ashuteshu Teshu. Tete Prabhavanichaya Vihitaschayana Govindamati Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. We live in the fort of Durga, also known as Devidam. Above us is Brahman, the effulgence of the Lord, and above that is Mahesh Dham. So Mahesh Dham is the first planet, the place of Kailasha. That's the first planet in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual sky. Devi Mahesha Haridam Ashuteshu. Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham, and above that is Haridam. Now we call this place Kunta, place of anxiety. And even that anxiety, we have three different types of kleshas, we know, represented by the Trishul, Adi Atmik, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Devik. There's a problem created by us, problem created by other living entities, problem created by demigods also. Vaikunta means Akunta Vikunta Dishnyam. In Kunta, there is a trouble caused within, and there is a trouble coming from outside. Vaikunta means place which internally, intrinsically doesn't have any anxiety, nor will it allow any external forces to disturb it either. That's what it means. Akunta Vikunta Dishnam means. So it's not just Supreme Lord who is without disappointment. His planet is without a disappointment. Supreme Lord's arrow, when Lord Ram releases his arrow, he doesn't need to take time to even aim. He'll just release it and the arrow will do everything together, pierce through the bodies. Because it's now tainted with blood, the arrow would think, I'm very unclean. Then it will go to different holy place, take a dip, and then come back again to his quiver. So everything is inconceivable. Everything is omnipotent. I was giving this example. Normally, if you, let's say you visit a home program, somebody gives you a nice drink. You drink, this is nice. And if you are a cook, you would try to sip again, but you will try to taste it very carefully to reverse engineer what they have made, what ingredients they have put and everything. 3 days ago, we had Gaura Purnima. You take a sip of Charanamrita and you tell me what ingredients go in. Supreme Lord alone is not inconceivable. Even Charanamrita is inconceivable. You can't even forget about something spiritual figuring out. You figure out what has actually gone into this. We can't figure out. Even Charanamrita is inconceivable, actually, for us. Hari Parishad, both are like that. Ashnaviram, without veins. Again, when Prabhupada actually told the devotees who are artists to draw forms of Krishna, they drew. But their understanding of somebody very powerful means somebody with a macho body, body built so much, muscle built so much, big biceps, having a lot of veins. This is how they drew Krishna. Prabhupada looks at it and he says, this is your asuric understanding. This is your demoniac understanding. This is not Krishna. And then Prabhupada says, Krishna's body is like soft butter, not normal butter, soft butter. But Prabhupada, you said he is more powerful. Yes, and yet more powerful. This is Krishna. So it's just inconceivable how somebody can be looking so innocent, but at the same time, do things like the way he did. Narada Muni, when he describes about the summary of Krishna's pastimes, he says, you look at the beauty of Krishna, baby Krishna, in whole of Nanda Baba, Yashoda Maya's household, the most precious commodity was that bullock cart, in which they had loaded all vessels. Otherwise, in Vedic times, the wealth is measured with grains and cows. And baby Krishna is there lying down, seeing this gigantic demon, Shakatashura, who has taken that form. Narada Muni says, baby Krishna just kicks him once. With one kick, he kills him. But then he has the audacity to cry also. Normally, when you do something mischievous, what do? You will escape from that place even before getting caught. But Narada Muni says, baby Krishna, he kicks. Normally, he's supposed to feel guilty there. right? Because you don't want to be caught. But he kicks, and by the time his parents come, he evokes their Vatsalya Bhav by crying. And he says only Krishna can do like this. Nobody in the 14 planetary system can ever do like that. Normally, if you do, even if you don't get caught, you will start to feel guilty. And every time somebody comes, you feel like somebody is going to catch me. But that is Krishna. Ashnaviram, without veins. Shuddham, apapaviddham. Shuddham, antiseptic. Prabhupada writes in the purport, antiseptic means even if something unclean comes, when it comes in contact with this, that will also become clean. That is Shuddham. In one sense, Shuddham and Apapaviddham, there is a similarity, but there is a difference also. Shuddham is antiseptic, Apapaviddham is prophylactic. Prophylactic means the medicine that you take to become totally immune from being attacked by any disease. That's prophylactic. On the other hand, Shuddham, Prabhupada explains, not only is Krishna pure, but anything that comes in contact with Krishna also becomes pure. Baby Krishna being carried by Putana, 7 miles long, so big, gigantic body. And baby Krishna is still so compact, very, very small. She carries, baby Krishna is already small. What do you think the size of baby Krishna's lips? Even small, tiny, tiny part. But simply that touch of Krishna's lips to the body of Putana was enough. When he was sucking her breast milk, that tiny lips could purify such a gigantic body, so much so, when she fell down dead, crashing the garden of Kamsa, and whose dead body, finally the Brajabasis, they cut and they start to burn, they could smell aguru, the most costliest scent. This tiny lips has already purified such gigantic body. ISKCON prison ministry, their caption is, every saint has a past and every sinner a future. Nice line. Every saint has a past and every sinner a future, which means the saint of the present was a sinner of the past. That's what it means. And the sinner of the present can become the saint of the future. What makes this transformation to happen? Association with Krishna. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, everything. So Shuddham, Apapaviddham. Shuddham is antiseptic, Apapaviddham is prophylactic. Kavihi, omniscient. Supreme Lord is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. Omnipotent means with one part of his body. Anganiyasya shakalendriya. Every anga can act as shakala indriya. One sense can act as shakala sense. All the senses. That's what it means. Kavihi means omniscient. One who knows everything. Lord Shiva also knows everything, but it's given Lord Shiva knows everything that's happening within one particular universe where he is residing. But every universe also has got Shiva, and every Shiva would know what is happening inside every universe. Krishna is also omniscient, but Krishna is living in Goloka, but from there he knows everything that's happening in the entirety of spiritual and material creation. And that's the difference. When we are in this material world, it is said that there are few personalities who have access to our heart, what is going on inside us. Durga Devi knows what's going on inside us. Brahma, They know what's going on inside us. Yamaraj, it said, he knows what's going on inside us. Spiritual master, he knows what is going on inside us as much as Lord Balaram reveals to them. And of course, Supreme Lord is inside all of us, so he's the only person who knows what is happening everywhere. Because Maya Devi or Durga Devi, because she knows what's going on inside our heart, that's why her temptations also will vary depending on what stage of Krishna consciousness we are in. In the beginning days, we may have struggled, let's say, stopping coffee, stopping the habit of drinking coffee, rather. But if we think Durga Devi is going to come and tempt us with only coffee, now we haven't understood her potency. She is up to date with our desires. But it is said when we chant Hare Krishna, Mahamantra, chanting that mantra, that spiritual vibration puts a veil around us that none of these personalities can see except the Supreme Lord. So in one sense, it's like sweeping things under the carpet and you do some internal cleansing. So when we take shelter of the holy name of the Lord, the influence of Maya Devi will gradually reduce. Daiviyasya gunamai mama maya duradhyaya. Alone, it's duradhyaya, very, very difficult. Mam evaya prapadyante maya metam tarantite. But one who takes my shelter can easily cross beyond this. One who takes Krishna's shelter, Krishna hands over the control to Srimati Radharani. Mahatmanastu mampartha daivim prakritim ashritaha. That's the closest Krishna comes to revealing the name of Srimati Radharani in Bhagavad Gita. Daivim prakritim. Ashritaha means shelter. Maya apahrita jnana ashrum bhavam ashritaha. There also we see. Namam dushkriti namoda prapadyante naradama. Maya apahrita jnana ashrum bhavam ashritaha. So those who are under the shelter of Durga Devi, they will take a shelter of ashrum bhavam ashritaha. They'll take the qualities of demons. On the other hand, one who takes the shelter of Krishna, Krishna will put such jivas under the control of Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani knows the heart of her devotees. There is one story you may all have heard, but we can still remind ourselves of to understand about the mercy of our Supreme Mother. In Vrindavan, there is one flower which is neither beautiful nor fragrant. Nobody bothered to touch. Every flower around gets picked except this particular one. So one day the flower was thinking, what is the use of my life? Whole purpose is simply to give pleasure to Radha Gopinath, but nobody is bothering. And by the way, I have to be honest, I'm neither good looking nor fragrant. What's the point? Might as well just commit suicide. But when he was contemplating like this, it realized actually I still have something to offer. I still have the softness of a rose petal. So tomorrow when Krishna comes, at that time I'll drop off from the plant and fall right in front of Radha Krishna. So when Krishna walks past me, he'll stamp on me. At least for that moment, I can give pleasure to the lotus feet of Krishna. This is the mood of even a flower in Vrindavana. So it plants, meshes, and ready to detach itself. Next day, as it planned, Radha Krishna come closer. And when Krishna come closer, at that time it detaches itself and it falls off straight. Measuring, exactly landing at the place where Krishna's next step would go. And when Krishna was about to stamp on it, Radharani said, stop. And then if we are that tiny little flower, oh my God, we would be so disappointed, right? So when that happened, then Radharani said, stop, Krishna. Then Krishna froze. Then Radharani said, retract your right foot back. Slowly he takes it. Then Radharani looks at the flower, smiles at the flower, picks it up, because she knew the mood of the devotee. So devotees always take emotional support from Srimati Radharani. So she takes it and she gives it to Krishna, saying, this flower is so beautiful. You are about to stamp on it. I think you should have it. Then whatever Radharani gives becomes most valuable for Krishna. So Krishna takes it and then he decorates his head with that so-called ugly looking flower. So that's the mercy of Srimati Radharani. So when we take shelter of Krishna, Krishna knowing everything, Kavihi, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be offering the prayers to the Supreme Lord. We should. Pashyanti teme ruchirani amba shanta. Prasanna vaktra runalochanani. Rupani divyani varapradani. Shakam vakyam. Spraniyam vadanti. This is in third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Kapila says, Pashyanti teme ruchirani amba shanta. My dear mother, my devotees, when they come in front of me and take darshan of me as a deity, this verse is specifically spoken by Kapila to tell what is the psychology of a deity. When my devotees come in front of me, they look at me, Pashyanti teme, they see ruchirani amba shanta, and how do I look for them? Again, putting aside his own humility, Supreme Lord glorifies how he looks, how is his beauty. Prasanna vaktra runalochanani. I have a very beautiful smile, and my beauty is like that of the sun rising early in the morning in the eastern horizon. Prasanna vaktra runalochanani. Aruna lochanani. My eyes is also looking very beautiful. Rupani divyani varapradani. This form of deity which I have taken is Rupani, which is the form divyani. It's not an ordinary form, it is transcendental form. Varapradani. This form I specifically manifest. He is talking about all the deities. Rupani divyani. This transcendental form I manifest simply to give boons to all my devotees. But he says, last line is important. Sakyam vacham spraniyam vadanti. There he says how he likes or what he likes to hear from his devotees when they come in front of his murti form. And that is sakyam vakyam. When my devotees come in front of me and they offer friendly talks to me, I feel very happy. So we still follow the etiquette, but there is a mood of friendship. The predominant mood of devotees with the Supreme Lord, be it in Vaikunta or be it in Ayodhya, is Dasya mixed with Aishwarya Bhav. When you go higher, go to Dwaraka, the predominant mood of devotees there in Dwaraka is predominantly Sakya, but mixed with Aishwarya. They know that Dwarakadesh Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but they also understand that he is our friend. It's just like, having Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mukesh Ambani as your friends. You have that friendship, but you also know, okay, they are richest person, like that. Crude example. But Dwarakavasis, their predominant relationship with Krishna is Sakya, as a friend only, mixed with Aishwarya. But when you go to Goloka Vrindavan, it's totally Madhurya. Nobody knows who Krishna is there, which means zero Aishwarya. Krishna also doesn't manifest fully. Brihad Bhagavatamrita says that even the mood of residence of Goloka Vrindavan also perfectly complements the mood of Krishna there. That's why it is said Krishna is the Supreme Lord in all of the material and spiritual world creations except in Goloka Vrindavan. Because that's the only place where nobody knows about him. Nobody knows that he is the Supreme Lord. Kabir, he knows the heart of everyone. So when we come in front of the deities, we offer prayers, but Sakkam Vachyam. It has to be friendly talk. Because every deity they like to do that way. You read, there are many pastimes around deities that are given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You can read many sections there. How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dealt with Jagannath, how Raghava Pandit deals with his deities, how even Sakshi Gopal, the young Brahmana goes in front of him and he says, you remember, you are in Vrindavan, I came with that elderly Brahmana, he promised to give his daughter to me. You also bore witness. And then Gopal says, yes. Then he says, now he is going back on his word, you please come with me. He says, where? Just a few thousand kilometers away, come with me to Orissa, to Katak. He says like, no, I'm a deity, how can I walk? And then the devotee challenges back, if he can talk, he can walk. Then he says, yeah, that works, okay. But if you read that conversation, at one point, the young Brahmana tells to the deity, you see, you witnessed this, and if you bore witness to something, and if the person going back on their word, and if you don't do anything, you will get big disfaming or defaming. Many people will speak bad about you. Like that, he tells him. So, you will see Sanatana Goswami with Madan Mohanji. When he says, you know, I was with that Mathura Brahmana, at least he served me nice, you brought me here. You are giving me only atta mixed with the Ganga Jal, at least put some salt. And then he politely declines, saying, my dear sir, today you'll ask for salt, tomorrow you'll ask for ghee. I know where it's going. I have instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to fulfill you, so you please be satisfied. You know, devotee is telling the Supreme Lord to be Atmaram. He is already Atmaram. And then Madan Mohan tells Sanatana Goswami, okay, no problem, I'll make arrangement. And then suddenly he gives trouble to a container ship. So mood is like that. Kavihi, he knows the heart of all his devotees. Manishi, philosopher. Krishna is Jagat Guru. Whatever instruction he gives holds true for past, present, as well as future. The more we read any other book, more we will get convinced about how succinct Krishna has put his message in Bhagavad Gita. What will be explained in 50-60 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna will just drop that in one line or one verse and he'll just move on. That's a true eloquence, according to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So he's the topmost philosopher, Paribuhu. He is the greatest of all. Swayambhu, self-sufficient. He doesn't need anything. He doesn't need anyone. He doesn't need anything. Because everything gets manifested from him. That's what we studied in the invocatory mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. And it's exactly for the same reason Krishna tells to Sudama Vipra that, oh my dear friend, you have given me something which even you didn't possess. Because he didn't have even those chipped rice. He carried that, which was actually being begged by, first of all, his wife. And then she gives him. And then he comes, that is the practically little food he had. And that also he has given to Krishna. First of all, he didn't have that. And secondly, whatever somehow his wife managed to get, that also he gave. Two sacrifices he did. One, he gave something we didn't have. Second, he gave to Krishna something more than what he had. He had nothing, he had given more to Krishna. He didn't have anything, he borrowed and still gave to Krishna 2 times. And Krishna tells to Sudama that I can never come to your position. Why? Introducing invocatory mantra, Om Purnamada Purnamidam. Krishna will never be depleted at all. You take, you'll already have more. In fact, he expands. So Krishna says, I'll never come to that position when I can give others more than what I possess. So he says, I will remain forever indebted. Krishna many times breaks promise also. So here you see, yeah, tamam prapadante, he breaks. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he quotes, yeah, tamam prapadante, and he quotes about the pastime of Krishna telling to gopis, oh, my dear gopis, I am so indebted by all your love, I can never reciprocate with you. So may all your love be that reciprocation. If you think about it carefully, right? Materially, if you think, it won't make sense. How can that be? It's like cheating. It feels like that. But no. The devotees, they want only one thing. Nayanam galadashrudaraya. May my love for you keep on expanding. When Arjuna was given the opportunity to ask for a boon to Krishna, Arjuna said, my Lord, may my love for you keep on growing like how Subhadra is loving you. And then Arjuna says, when Abhimanyu was killed, Subhadra knew that you were right there. You could have protected. Normally, anyone would have protected that nephew. But Arjuna says, not even once did she mention. She had so much faith. She loves you more than even her own son. May my love for you keep on growing like that. Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach. Beyond reproach means without disappointment, without veins, pure, Shuddham Apapavitam, and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. Narayanam Narashakam Sharanam Prapadye. Narayanam, we know, Narashakam means Krishna is the father of all the living entities, but he is very, very dear to humans. And Krishna says that in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, there are many living entities, but I like humans. Thank God, we are in human form now. Of course, in one sense, Krishna is equal to everyone, but Krishna holds humans more close to him. That's why Narayanam Narashakam Sharanam Prapadye. So this particular verse, it speaks about these different qualities of Krishna. We can quickly go through some of these points which Prabhupada explains in the purport. So Prabhupada, if you see the flow of Isopanishad, especially in this verse, many verses, whenever there is a listing of qualities are given, like even, like say 13th chapter, 20 items of knowledge, Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Shanti, Rajyavam. If you read the purport carefully, Prabhupada will go through each one of those. And if you are Bhakti Shastri, you would have that appreciation, how painful it is to write open book assignment, correct? On one hand, you will think you know everything, but on the other hand, that's not good enough. What if I write and it's too simple and I get less marks? Then you have to write, but you will feel bored, so bored writing. Can imagine what Prabhupada had to go through. Prabhupada had to, once they asked Prabhupada, why do you keep on telling us that you are not the body? You have said this many times before. Prabhupada says, yes, but have you realized it? Now, here is the point. If it is so boring to hear the same thing over and over again, can we imagine how much more boring it would be for Prabhupada to repeat the same thing over and over again? But Prabhupada won't feel bored. Of course, he is in different platform, but we also need to understand that aspect of it. So in this particular flow of purport, if you see, Prabhupada goes through each one of those qualities, Like, for example, the first two paragraphs, he explains about unembodied, akayam, ashnaviram, without veins. So Prabhupada here, he mentions the forms of the living entities in this world are embodied in material nature and they work like any material machine. Ishvara sarva bhutani, hridesha arjuna sthiti, brahmayan sarva bhutani, yantra arudani maya. This body is like a machine only. And Prabhupada says it is clearly stated here that he is unembodied, which means there is no difference between his body and his soul, nor is he forced to accept a body according to the laws of nature as we are. And then next one, when Prabhupada explains about Ashnaviram, without veins, Prabhupada quotes the famous verse in Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramakrishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. And then Prabhupada quotes Anganyasya Shaklendriya Vritimanti verse also. So it is further stated that with each and every part of his body, he can do the work of the other senses. This means that the Lord can walk with his hands, accept things with his legs, see with his hands and feet, and eat with his eyes. So when we do bhog offering, Supreme Lord is eating with his eyes. If we do bhog offering and Supreme Lord starts to eat with his mouth, then you won't be left with anything. Aniyor, we can't handle that. So that's why the Supreme Lord is eating with his eyes. And then next Prabhupada speaks about Shukram, how pure he is, antiseptic he is, and omnipotent also. Prabhupada touches on that. The Lord's worshipable form, Archa Vigraha, which is installed in temples by authorized acharyas who have realized the Lord in terms of mantra 7, which is simultaneously one and different, is non-different from the original form of the Lord. The Lord's original form is that of Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna expands himself into an unlimited number of forms, such as Baladev, Rama, Narsimha, and Varaha. Narada Muni says that normally we have some doubt, right? Let's say you go to Helensburgh temple and you see Balaji. If you worship Balaji, will Gopinath be pleased? We have the doubt. Or you go to some Narsinghadev temple, or you go to Radha Madhav, even in India. Let's take even the same form of the Lord. Narada Muni says, all forms of the Lord, they are one single personality only. Which means if you please any form of the Lord, Supreme Lord, mind you, not demigod, any form of the Lord, then Prabhupada says every other form of the Lord will get automatically pleased. Now we should not use this as an excuse to pick and choose. Once Devamrit Maharaj told me that he was speaking to Jananivas Prabhu. And Jananivas Prabhu told him that all deities have their own men, meaning every deity have certain people who will feel very much attracted to. They'll inspire them to do more service. And I've asked this question to my Guru Maharaj actually. Ishta Devata, when we actually speak, we come across even, Jai Radha Gopinatha Shri Radhe, Raghunatha Pranadana. Hey, we keep this going one after the other. So I asked my Guru Maharaj, can we have Ishta Devata even among different forms of Krishna? He said, yes, you can have. And he said, my Ishta Devata is Radha Madhav. Then he asked me, who is your Ishta Devata? I said, Radha Gopinath. He said, yeah, like that you can have. Then there was another disciple. I was traveling with my Guru Maharaj at the time. We were in Atlanta. And my Guru Maharaj asked him, what is your Ishta Devata? Then he looked at my Guru Maharaj and he said, Guru Maharaj, Radha Madhav. Then my Guru Maharaj looked at me and he said, he's lying. He's saying Radha Madhav because I said Radha Madhav. Otherwise, he's attached to Radha Kalachandji, So, in Houston. So, every deities have their own men, means every deities will attract people, and whoever we feel attracted to, we need to stay committed. If you go to South India, in Andhra Pradesh, there is a place called Bhadrachalam, very beautiful temple of
Lord Ram.
Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman. So there, Prabhupada actually speaks about this pastime in one Bhagavatam class. There he says the temple was constructed by a famous devotee, Ramadashu. He was like a tax collector, like a magistrate, local magistrate. He collected the tax, but rather than sending it to the governor, he spent it for building the temple. And because of that, he was imprisoned. And then later on, Prabhupada says, Ram and Lakshman, they both came and they paid the money in gold coins. Up to the interest, everything they paid, and they relieved him. But Ramadashu, when finally, if you read the Stalapuran, there it says like when Sitaram Lakshman, when they come to him and they ask him, okay, come, let's go to Vaikunta, let's go to Ayodhya. He says, no, my lord, I want to remain here. And I want to serve every devotee who comes to take your darshan here. For me, he's my hero. We want to be like that for Radha Gopinath. We want to be serving Radha Gopinath. We want to take birth again and again and again. I was once telling that to one devotee in the stairs. One little girl in the foyer, she was hearing and she was saying, yeah, I can be a mom. Like that she was saying. First I was thinking, you are 5-year-old, first to grow up, man. Then you can think about it. Little kids, you think they don't hear, but they hear. So for us, we need to develop that desire, that relationship with the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada here, he mentions about Archa Vigraha, which is installed in temple by authorized acharyas. All of these forms are one and the same personality of Godhead. Similarly, Archa Vigraha worshipped in temples is also expanded form of the Lord. In one place, Prabhupada says, Archa Vigraha are also like different avatars of the Lord. They have expanded. So Supreme Lord has expanded into so many unlimited forms. So this is how Prabhupada explains. Yata Teyato Arthan, one who is fulfilling everyone's desires. Prabhupada actually touches on that next. The Lord regrets the fallen conditions of men with little knowledge who deride him because he descends like a man into this world. Such poorly informed persons do not know the omnipotence of the Lord. And then Prabhupada says, in this mantra, as well as in other Vedic mantras, it is clearly stated that Lord has been supplying the goods. Now, Prabhupada is mentioning this one in the context of one who is fulfilling the desires of all the living entities. Like in India, if you see, they have water problem now, especially in South India, Bengaluru. And different places you will see different troubles. Like you go to Delhi, there is like pollution, so much pollution. Pollution is everywhere, but some places are very bad. You go to South India, it gets very hot, or hottest. There's only 3 weather, So Prabhupada says the Supreme Lord has been supplying goods to everyone since time immemorial. So Isopanishad will bring up that point. In fact, next verse is like what, 9 to 11, 12 to 14 will also, if you see the flow, there is invocatory mantra, then there is Ishavasya principle, which is verse number 1. 2 and 3 will tell you what you will get by following Ishavasya principle and not following Ishavasya principle. That's what 2 and 3 speaks about. From 4 all the way to 8, you will come across different qualities of the Supreme Lord. Now 9 to 11, 12 to 14, same theme will be expanded. What you see in 2nd and 3rd, which is if you follow what you're going to benefit, if you don't follow Ishavasya principle, what you're going to lose. That's what's coming next. 9, 10, 11, then 12, 13, 14 also. So time and again, the focus is given. Understanding about who is the controller. There is a famous saying, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. I remember hearing this first time. I've heard this saying before. But I remember this saying being quoted by Devamrita Maharaj in one retreat I attended in 2006 in New Gokula Farm. There he said, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. True. It's only the beginning. It's not the middle. It's not the end. Which means starting point you understand about how big the Supreme Lord is. That aspect will be focused on in Isopanishad again and again and again. And personal aspect will be introduced again and again and again. And just to make sure that we get that point, it will be elaborated and repeated. So here, one who fulfills the desires of everyone. So Prabhupada here, he says, just like High Court judge, if a man wants to be a High Court judge, he must acquire not only the necessary qualification, but also the consent of authority who can award the title of High Court judge. The qualification in themselves are insufficient. Similarly, the Lord awards enjoyment to living entities in proportion to the qualifications. Once they had Gopi Bhava Club in Los Angeles, and they were reading only about Krishna's dealings with gopis. And when it was brought to Prabhupada, Prabhupada was very upset. He called that leader and he said, why are you reading this? And he says, Prabhupada, Aradhya Bhagavan Vraja, he tells to Prabhupada. So it is the highest form of worship. So that's why we do. Prabhupada said, yes, but there is a clear process that is given by our acharyas. We have to worship the Lord from lotus feet, which is the first two cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, and gradually you have to go. Prabhupada, is it wrong to desire to worship Krishna in Gopi Bhav? Prabhupada retorted back saying, first you deserve, then you desire. In other words, we need to have adhikar. Without adhikar, if we simply desire, then it's impudence of us. Definitely. We are jumping up the gun. It's a sahaja tendency in many ways. And then Prabhupada abandoned and dissolved the club. Paribhu, the greatest of all, no one is greater than or equal to him. Asham Urdhva. Sama means same, Urdhva means above. Asam Urdhva means the Supreme Lord who is, for whom there is no equal, what to speak of, somebody greater than him. Other living beings are described here as beggars who ask goods from the Lord. The Lord supplies the things the living entities desire. If the entities were equal to the Lord in potency, if they were omnipotent and omniscient, there would be no question of their begging from the Lord. So Prabhupada is using this point to drive home the understanding that the very fact somebody is worshipping the Lord means they are in need of something. But Supreme Lord, he doesn't need anything. Only the Supreme Lord is self-sufficient. When Lord Krishna appeared on the earth 5,000 years ago, he displayed his full manifestations as personality of Godhead through his various activities. So Krishna, he performed his pastimes in different ages. 1 to 5, Kaumara, 6 to 10, Pauganda, 11 to 15, Kaishora, and 16, Yavana. He just stops there. At every point, he displayed his opulences, and at every point, he is the cynosure of everyone's eyes, and he is the fullest enjoyer. Normally, if you see the psychology of any kids, from 1 to 5, it wants the attraction of all the elders. And Krishna had it. Krishna would go from one mother to the other, to the other, to the other. When he was young, these are all dreams of little kids, but only Krishna's dreams get fulfilled. Even as parents, we want to fulfill that dream of the child. We can't do it. We all have other things to do. But for Krishna, it's not like that. There is a whole planet to take care of him. And the planet also expands. Sometimes the distance between two places will contract because the petals will actually close. But then to make Radharani go to her home easily, it will expand. So in a moment, she'll go to Barshana very easily. So Kaumara, when he's in Kaumara age, if you see, Krishna is the cynosure of everyone's eyes. He had the attention of everyone. Pauganda, from 6 to 10, if you see, that's when Krishna goes stealing around everything. Now, if you look at, observe little kids carefully, that's the time they start to make friends with everyone. And every kid wants to be the leader among all the friends. We can try. I have tried, you have tried, all of us tried. we never succeeded. Krishna succeeds. So on that age, if you see, again, he is the focal point of everyone's attention of boys in his age group. As soon as somebody goes to teenage, they want to be looking attractive to the opposite sex. They get attracted. Again, if you see Krishna as the topmost enjoyer, that's when Leela with the gopis start. And when he goes to even beyond 15, when he goes to 16, there he shows the maturity of an adolescent personality, being the prince of Dwaraka, but at the same time, he retained the beauty of his younger days. Only he can do. So Krishna is the topmost enjoyer. He is self-sufficient. He doesn't need anything. Wherever he goes, he creates the scene. Wherever he goes, everyone gets attracted to him. And finally, Shuddham Apapavidam. Prabhupada there, he gives example of prophylactic and antiseptic. And finally, Prabhupada says, if the sun, which is a material object, is so powerful, Prabhupada gives example of sun. Sun is staying so far away, but with its rays, it can purify the whole world. It can evaporate the water of a water body. It can evaporate even urine that is there. It can purify the place that has filth without touching it. So Prabhupada is giving a material example. What to speak of the origin of sun? Yat chakshuresha shavita shakala grahanam. Raja samasta shura murti rasesha teja. Yasya Gyaya Brahmatik Shambrita Kala Chakra Govinda Mati Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, fearing whom the sun god jumps on his chariot and he keeps going on time, maintaining the time. So if this potency is there even for sun, Prabhupada says, which is just material, it's just yet another planet. What to speak of the origin of Krishna? Dunoti Sarvam Hridishanivishta. Supreme Lord seated inside one's heart. If one takes shelter, even before a sinful thought start to sprout, he will burn into ashes. It's given like that in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, the different qualities are explained. Mantra 9, 10 and 11, as well as 12, 13, 14, they'll elaborate on the same theme, which is if you follow the Ishavasya principle, what will you stand to gain? And if you break that principle, what will you lose? Let me do at least one thing properly, finishing the class on time. Sorry, Hemanga Prabhu, that's how much we could cover today.
Why you are saying sorry, Prabhu? It was so nice. You explained very well. I was just going to ask you, Prabhu, if you could do mantra 9 as well. Not today.
I'm just thinking, what day do you do usually?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, Friday,
You have another
I
class.
have youth class,
That's
unfortunately. Some other time, I
Yeah.
will take your Sangha.
No, Prabhuji. We are taking your sangha. At least I'm taking. I'm not sure what others. You have so many nice pastimes to share with each word.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you.
Anyone has any questions, please ask. It's your best opportunity. Okay, here's one
Prabhu.
question.
Sakiradi Mataji.
Prabhuji, you said you were explaining, first of all, thank you, Prabhuji, very nice class. Prabhuji, you were explaining about all the personalities which can see what's going on. And then you were explaining that when one starts to chanting, and then these personalities cannot see, and then they don't.
Primarily about Durga Devi. She can't see. Yeah.
But we've also heard in the classes that when, like, once you take this feedback, and then is when the Maya is ready to attack. So also that aspect, is it on the level of how much surrendered you are, or what is, like, you're not performing any Nam Aparad? That's when it happens, like, how to understand that?
Question. When Gopakumar asked the question to Narada Muni about deity worship, Narada Muni says, to drive home the point about the power of deity worship, he says, in this world, you can take any object, like anything, living and non-living, But if you simply develop that little appreciation that this is actually controlled by Krishna, it is created by Krishna, it is the way it is because of Krishna. If you develop even that little appreciation, then Narada Muni says, then you won't take birth again. Instead, you will go to Vaikuntha. And then he says, if this is the power of even any object, what to speak of one who is actually worshipping the deity, which is Sakshat, Supreme Lord himself. So, when we chant the holy name of the Lord, when it is said that Durga Devi won't have access, it means externally our temptations will actually start to go down, because if we have to do everything at the same time, it is going to be a problem, because sometimes we'll have people coming and explaining. I started to chant, but after chanting only my life became worse. Have you come across people tell you that? Once that question was asked to Devamrita Maharaj, he gave a very beautiful analogy. He says, you go to a playground, you play, you come, and you stand under the shower and you start to scrub your body. What comes out first? Just filth. But nobody sits there and cries, under the shower, filth is going like that. No, we feel happy that body is actually getting cleansed. So he says, same way, until this point in life, we started to chant, we have been carrying this filth, layers and layers and layers of filth from so many different lives. So when we start to chant, it is coming out, which means mantra is doing its job, basically. That's what it means. So coming to your question, when we chant Hare Krishna, we, the Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya, Vasudeva Parayana, Agam Dunvanti Katsneya, Niharamiva Bhaskara, even a tiny little ray of the sun, one tiny little ray of the sun is enough to dispel the darkness. This example is given in Bhagavatam to say how you don't even need to do Shuddhanam. Nama Aparad, even that level is enough to actually start to protect ourselves. So even if we start to chant the holy name of the Lord, even unconsciously or even consciously, even with offense, that is actually enough to protect us. Now, that doesn't mean we take chanting very cheaply, thinking that I'm chanting, so I will actually get all the protection. It's not like that. I asked that question also once to Ramaswamy Maharaj, and I told him, Maharaj, I pray to Radha Gopinath to so many times since joining the temple to please purify me. I still don't feel pure. And then Maharaj, he said, on one hand, you are praying to Krishna, please purify me, but on the other hand, you keep holding on to things. The strength of your hold is more stronger than strength of your prayer. Because of that, Gopinath doesn't want to intervene in your independence. So that's how it works, he said. Nice analogy. So point we have to understand is, to the extent that we try, to that extent, the holy name will actually reciprocate with us. Just like Narada Muni here, he is saying the potency of it is such that you can worship any object, but somehow if you connect it to Krishna and understand, Prabhupada said, even if a drunkard drinking wine, Prabhupada uses this example, if a drunkard is drinking wine and he thinks Rasoham apsu kaunteya, this taste of wine is coming from Krishna, Prabhupada says he'll make spiritual advancement. Of course, not to be copied and followed. But the idea there is, even a tiny speck is enough. That's the whole point there. But once we start to come in to maintain and to progress, there obviously we need to aspire for Shuddhanam. But for us to feel relief from the distress, like how many of us can actually say now compared to when we started to chanting? When we started to chant, we felt definitely a lot of distractions, a lot of temptations, correct? Currently, if you see, many temptations we know we can control. The influence from outside is reducing. We all have that experience, definitely. So this is how it is actually explained. The more we actually take shelter, more we will become immune. We will become immune to those temptations. And even if we get only a tiny speck of taste for chanting, even a little bit we actually hear, little bit we actually chant, that little effort will be reciprocated with. And that's what happened for Ajamila. For Ajamila, his was Namabas only. It's not even considered chanting. He's just calling his son. But no aparadha there because he didn't commit sinful activities on the strength of holy name. That's not what his purpose was. So his was in Namabas only. But Namabas was enough. Shadow chanting was enough to invoke the blessings of the Vishnu Dudas. But then they came, saved him from the Yamadudas, but they left him and they gone. Because unless somebody comes to Shuddhanam platform, it's very difficult. But then from there he goes to Haridwar, stays in a temple, and then does seva, chants every day, and then soon he gets invited to go to Vaikuntha by the same Vishnu Dudas. It's given like that. So to get relief from distress, even offensive chanting is good enough. But to climb up the ladder to go further, for that we need to go Shuddhanam. First time when I'll finish this. First time when I went to Vrindavan, we finished Govardhan Parikrama. And I bowed down to Radha Kunda. That's where we started. We came back, finished one full parikram, and I bowed down. And I saw one pair of canvas shoes, a personality standing. Then I raised my head and I actually looked up. That was Mahanidhi Swami. He looked at me in brahmachari clothes and he asked, so which temple are you from? Then I told him, he was doing parikrama. I told him I am from Sydney. Then he just gave me one instruction and he just like left. He said, chanting 16 rounds will help you take off from material world. But if you want to fly, you have to keep chanting more. That's all. 2 lines and he just started walking. But I saw it was a very kind of him. He didn't have to stop and actually say, but he was sharing it. So I found that very interesting because whatever that we chant, that is enough for us to just to protect ourselves. But that's not why we practice bhakti. We want to offer the best possible service to Radha Gopinath. We don't practice bhakti just to save ourselves from trouble. That's a good starting point. But we want to practice bhakti. Shukadeva Goswami says the activities of Lord Ram is like, it's so pleasing. In one place he even compares it. Activities of Lord Ram is like the activities of a baby elephant. Have you watched YouTube videos of that? Baby elephant. Very cute. They run. They expect a hug from people. If they put a bathtub, he goes, climbs up, does so many mischievous things, but very cute. That's the example Shukadeva Goswami himself uses. That's how enchanting and mesmerizing the activities of Lord Ram is. We want to become like the baby elephant of Radha Gopinath. That's what we should be aspiring for. Okay, it's getting late. We can stop there.
Thank you so much for nice explanation, a nice answer. There's so much to learn, Prabhu. And
Hearing from what I heard from you, Prabhu, I still remember my samskara is very strong.
No, Prabhu, you keep saying that. That's not true.
Hemant Tiwari sitting in 203 bus with this thick printouts of Srimad Bhagavatam and printouts and reading.
Reading and sleeping.
With my pocket version of Bhagavad Gita, trying to read Bhagavad Gita for the very first time, sitting at the back of the bus, 2006.
Hari bol, Hari bol. Yes, Prabhu, I had those papers, but I'll just sleep on that. No, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Please make yourself available some other time as well.
Sure, Prabhuji.
We really like to hear more from you. So just chant Hare Krishna mantra for Ghanashyam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Hare
Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Radha Gopinath ji ki jai. Isopanishad ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari. Just before we go, so next week we'll have class on a regular Wednesday and do the revision and we'll start doing the mantra 9. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you again. Hare Krishna. And have a good, safe Easter long weekend. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.